Warning: the following video mainly consists of triggering subjects, such as murders, terrorist attacks, and hate crimes. It also shows footage from LiveLeak's YouTube channel. While all of this is presumably up to YouTube's community guidelines, it should not be watched by anyone under 18 or anyone who is especially squeamish, even though no gore is involved. Viewer discretion is advised. You know, there's a lot I miss about the internet from 2004, when I was born, to 2016. Well, it was certainly toned down compared to the infancy of this amazing creation. After all, Web 2.0 was pretty much all about making the internet more user-friendly than it was in the late 90s to early 2000s. It was still very much a Wild West. And while a lot had changed, a lot had also stayed the same. You see, the 2000s were pretty much the golden age for edgy content online. After all, it's a core rule of the internet, which, speaking of the rules of the internet, I will cover those, but that's an episode for another time. Nothing is allowed to stay pure on the internet. That's why shock sites had so much appeal back in the late 2000s and early 2010s. People loved tricking their friends into seeing fucked up shit, sometimes literally. Though Kekma pretty much officially killed off the appeal of shock sites in 2020 with how mindlessly edgy it was. However, there were two shock sites in particular that really left a mark on us as kids. Sites where you could see the worst and bloodiest of humanity. And in these cases, rather than just reading about the news stories of horrifying murders, suicides, and other deaths, these sites would allow you to watch them for yourself. These sites were LiveLeak, founded in 2006, and Bestgore, founded in 2008. And the fall of these two sites is the very subject of this video. These sites were very distinct from one another, though. Don't get it twisted. LiveLeak, like its predecessors Ogrish and Rotten.com, showed these graphic videos and news stories for the honorable purpose of uncensored internet journalism. Gore wasn't censored because they believed that it was too slippery a slope. LiveLeak was essentially meant to be a video sharing version of Rotten.com. As long as it wasn't illegal and it was newsworthy, chances are you would see the video on LiveLeak. LiveLeak was less about shock value and more about genuine uncensored journalism. Meanwhile, Bestgore is almost exclusively described as a shock site. It mostly catered to those edgelords who just like to watch and read about people dying in graphic ways. It was essentially Reddit's r/watch people die as an entire site. Almost from its inception, Bestgore was a controversial site due to the fact that it had a habit of hosting videos of infamous murders. You see, back in 2012, the site caught a lot of heat for hosting the infamous video, One Lunatic, One Ice Pick. That's the video of Luca Magnotta, who you may recognize from the documentary Don't Fuck With Cats, which is about him murdering Jun Lin. Obviously, this caught the site's founder, Mark Merrick, a lot of heat with the Canadian government due to the country's obscenity laws. And Mark had claimed to have removed the video on his own volition, but police claimed he had refused to take it down when asked to. But when he was interviewed about it, Mark stated,
"You can take the publishing of the chainsaw beheading by the Syrian rebels propaganda team who claimed that this atrocity was committed by people behind President Bashar al-Assad. The video stirred major outrage in the ranks of the sheeple, but it didn't fool anyone on Bestgore, because we know where the video is really from. It's been on Bestgore since before the Syrian fraudulent revolution started, and we have its full version, including the original audio, and know it's from Mexico. It was the saying when Bestgore busted the rebels about the publishing of the domestic gas leak explosion, which they also manipulated into looking like the aftermath of alleged indiscriminate bombings by the rulers, or more recently, when the whole world was revving about Muslims being slaughtered by Buddhists in Myanmar. The propaganda fooled everyone, except us on Bestgore, because we recognized the lynching video from Kenya, the earthquake in Tibet, and the tsunami disaster in Thailand, which had been used in unrelated context.
Now, while I have demonstrated myself to be very anti-censorship, I must admit, what educational value is there in mindless violence? Granted, news is news, and the internet should be as minimally censored as possible in my opinion, but there's just something really distasteful about sharing videos filmed by actual murderers on a site as known for being edgy as Bestgore, in my opinion. After all, if you've ever read the comments section on any Bestgore video, or the captions on a post, which, to be honest, I don't think a lot of you have since the site is, well, it has been dead since 2020, you'd know it's basically an even edgier version of 4chan. People are known to make incredibly tasteless jokes on the site. However, in 2019, a video would be shared on the site that brought the site more traffic and controversy than it had ever seen before.
We want to get right to that breaking news: an anti-Muslim terror attack in New Zealand. The Prime Minister there is calling it one of the nation's darkest days. A gunman attacked 2 mosques while hundreds of Muslims were praying.
The man who is claiming responsibility and charged with murder is an extreme right-wing white supremacist who live-streamed the attack, saying it was aimed at immigrants.
On March 5th, 2019, at 1:40 p.m. New Zealand Daylight Time, that's 12:40 a.m. Greenwich Meridian Time, 8:40 a.m. Eastern, and 5:40 a.m. Pacific, a 28-year-old Australian man named Brenton Tarrant walked into the Al-Noor Mosque and started firing. In just 6 minutes, he killed 44 people and injured 35. Then, he proceeded to drive to the Linwood Islamic Center, arriving at 1:52 to continue the sick killing spree. He ended up killing 7 people there and injured an additional 5. And he likely would have killed more if he hadn't been distracted by a mosque attendee named Aziz Wabsada, who had made many attempts to divert Brenton's attention away from the other attendees. And he lived to tell the tale and was awarded the New Zealand Cross for his bravery in the face of hatred. Finally, at 1:59, Brenton was arrested, but not before the death toll had reached 51 and the injury toll had reached 40. To say this was a horrible tragedy would be a horrific understatement. Brenton clearly didn't regard his victims as people. While I won't show or link the video due to how sickening Brenton's actions within it truly are, I will make this statement about it. Throughout the live stream, it is clear Brenton derived great pleasure from the suffering of his victims, and on the drive to the mosques he is about to shoot up, he references many memes within it, such as Serbia Strong and subscribe to PewDiePie. Yeah, 2019 was just a different time. However, the instance in which Brenton's callous attitude towards his victims can best be observed is a point in the video in which a mosque attendee screams for help on the ground. Brenton says nothing, but given the context of his actions, he enjoyed this woman's suffering. He then proceeds to shoot her before running her over. And because of the context of his actions, this video was by far the most controversial video of 2019, and probably in Bestgore history. After all, Brenton admitted in his manifesto that his actions were in a misguided attempt to save the white race from being replaced by races he deemed as subhuman. He considered all Muslims to be filthy jihads and decided for that reason these people deserved to die. And this video was a double-edged sword of extreme proportions for Bestgore. After all, this video brought more traffic to the site than they had seen in years. However, it got them in a lot of legal trouble with the New Zealand government. So much so that many ISPs had blocked Bestgore on LiveLeak because of their refusal to remove the video in accordance with their anti-censorship ideals. And this was the beginning of the end for Bestgore, though Mark had stated around 2 years ago at the time in 2017 that the site cost more money to run than it was making anyway. But I'm not surprised that a live stream showing hatred in its base form led to the demise of one of the most hated shock sites of all time. Anyways, that was the fall of Bestgore. But what about LiveLeak? Well, much like Bestgore, the Christchurch mosque shooting video was part of the site's demise. But while it was clear it was the final nail in Bestgore's edgy coffin, there were actually quite a few more reasons for LiveLeak's demise in 2021. Much like Bestgore, LiveLeak had been shrouded in controversy throughout its 15-year run. LiveLeak first came to prominence in 2007 following the filming and leaking of the execution of Saddam Hussein. This, among others, earned the site a mention from White House Press Secretary Tony Snow as the likely place to see updates or stories from active American soldiers.
Well, it means they have propaganda capabilities, but it's also well known that a significant portion of al-Qaeda's command structure has been captured or killed. Is al-Qaeda still determined to wreak havoc? Absolutely. But I think any notion that al-Qaeda somehow sent a shudder through America with that video shows that they miscalculated again. They don't understand us.
On July 30th, 2007, the BBC program Panorama broadcast a show on how street violence between children as young as 11 was being posted on websites including LiveLeak. When Panorama queried the extremely violent videos that were posted to LiveLeak's website, co-founder Hayden Hewitt refused to take them down, stating,
"Look, all this is happening, this is real life, and this is going on, and we're going to have to show it."
It's clear Hewitt was very against sugarcoating the horrors of our society. LiveLeak was again in the spotlight in March 2008 when it was hosting the anti-Quran film Fitna made by Dutch politician Geert Wilders. Fitna was taken down for 48 hours as personal threats against Hewitt, the only public representative of the site, peaked. It was reposted on March 30th, 2008, after arrangements for Hewitt's family and safety had been improved. However, the video was soon removed again over a copyright claim. On August 19th, 2014, a video depicting the beheading of U.S. journalist James Foley was posted by Islamic State terrorists on YouTube and other sites. When it was reported on by U.S. News and World Report, YouTube and Facebook deleted all related footage and implemented bans, and demand increased for LiveLeak's footage as they permitted the content at that time. In response to the James Foley video, Hewitt posted that LiveLeak's content policy had been updated to ban all beheading footage produced by the Islamic State. The website continued to host the original video that depicted the aftermath of Foley's execution for its historical relevance, as it did not depict the beheading itself. And finally, on March 30th, 2019, Australian telecom Telstra denied millions of Australians access to websites 4chan, 8chan, Voat, Zero Hedge, and LiveLeak as a response to the video of the Christchurch mosque shootings in New Zealand spreading. LiveLeak responded that they didn't carry the video and were removing uploads of it. The ISPs in question didn't respond. All these things certainly didn't help LiveLeak, but they weren't the biggest reasons LiveLeak ended up dying. The biggest one was operating costs, and the fact that the internet was just a different place in 2021 than it was back when LiveLeak was founded in 2006. The internet had become increasingly corporatized and sanitized to appeal to advertisers. I mean, look at the most popular creators on YouTube these days. Mr. Beast is the closest to corporate reality TV that YouTube has ever been, and while social media companies are making huge bank off destroying the kids' attention spans. And of course, LiveLeak went against everything these companies stood for. It was very much against the internet and news being censored. The only time anything ever would be censored on LiveLeak often had a good reason for it. They stated they wouldn't host the Christchurch massacre video because that would only give the shooter what he wanted, more attention. They wouldn't host any more ISIS beheading videos in 2014 for the reason that they felt it was more about shock than actual education about the horrors of these executions. Sadly, the Wild West internet I and many viewers of this channel grew up with just is not really a thing anymore. After all, the internet we know and loved would shock and appall the advertisers. A site like LiveLeak just wasn't made to exist in today's corporatized and bastardized version of Web 2.0, and while that's normally something I'd be happy about, I sympathize with Hayden Hewitt, the founder of the site that traumatized many of us Gen Z kids. And after all the controversy and trauma these sites caused, truth be told, they were still very influential to the internet, and it's bittersweet to see them go. Bestgore was beyond trashy, but LiveLeak was genuinely dedicated to providing the most raw news around. And that, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow non-binary daisies, is the end of this video. I never thought I'd be getting nostalgic for sites that literally hosted videos of people dying graphically, but here I am. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you've done all those things, join my Discord server, and if you've done all these things, y'all have a great day. Antonio out. Peace.